Dear Venerable Sisters, Dhamma friends, we are going to start another session of question and answers. We'll invite Ananda to present written questions to start the session.
Dear Bhante, some monastics and lay people recommend eyes open meditation, stating Buddha never closed his eyes. Can you please comment from your experience with advantages and disadvantages? Thanks.
And keep the mind this angle. You have to keep the mind.
Okay.
Mic, can others listen?
I will repeat it, sorry.
No, you have to keep the mic in the other angle. You are keeping in the wrong angle.
Okay.
This way.
Thank you. Some monastics and lay people recommend eyes open meditation, stating Buddha never closed his eyes. Can you please comment from your experience with advantages and disadvantages? Thanks.
For my understanding, in the Zen Buddhist meditation, they sit facing the wall, eyes open, 1.5 meters distance with the wall and yourself, and the master is walking in between. So it is opposite and eyes open. So they have to sit only 45 minutes, whether meditation good or bad, exactly the time. So therefore, some people came to Nissarana after practicing at the Zen this thing, and they told that they wanted to practice with open eyes. So the senior monks and the teachers at that time told, no problem, you can do. When you are sitting like this, you can just gaze at the carpet or the floor or in the blank wall, and you can meditate, no problem. And when I go to the walking meditation, if I am to draw your attention, so of course it is, don't close your eyes. Always you have to keep open the eyes. And when you are in the day-to-day activities, open. So therefore meditation means sitting. In this question, in sitting usually in Theravada tradition, they close their eyes, but sometimes in the meditation, the flickering of the eyes started. You can't close it. So when such a thing happens, you let it, keep it open. Only the point from the physiology is concerned, eye is the most dynamic and prolific, lucrative opening. Lot of activities are taking place. So whenever it is open, the mind is at least with two base elements, eye consciousness and body consciousness. So therefore it can be somewhat complicated as far as sitting meditation is concerned. So therefore closed eyes means there is no transaction with respect to the visual action or eye consciousness. So therefore you can keep it open. But don't make a flat recommendation. You can try which one is better. Specifically, if you have kind of a fear or uncertainty, it says open your eyes and see. Whenever you see your body, your uncertainty sometimes disappear. So under such circumstances, you can use this as a strategy. Otherwise, whatever it may be, main thing is to develop mindfulness. So do whatever may be conducive for the mindfulness.
There's a practice that I spoke to you about the other night. It is done with the eyes open or
They do open. That in the sense.
If you have wide open or halfway or just a little way. But it's the one I was telling you about, the samadhi without a sign, just watching.
So
one of the very interesting parts of that practice is that there is a little trick where you just, when your mind starts to drift off into a daydream fantasy, you just open the eyes a smidgen. And it's like fine-tuning, like an eagle cresting in one spot above its prey.
Yeah.
And it has the effect of having like a psychic laundry chute, which brings you immediately back into the present moment. It's dramatic. And I don't know, the person that taught it to me said there's physiological reasons for that to do, and I couldn't explain it properly, but my experience of it is very powerful. This little tweak with the eyes open, when you've got your eyes, it used to kill me to have my eyes open because I've been meditating for many years with my eyes closed, and it irritated me immensely. But I finally learned how to do it just with the eyes just slightly open. But this tweak thing is dramatic in terms of just bringing you back. It's a physiological thing that brings you back into the present moment dramatically. Just all of what you were saying this afternoon in the talk, it just happens spontaneously. I don't understand the physiology of it, but it's.
So this is to verify, when specifically when the materiality or your object becoming subtle and subtle, fading off, a lot of visual objects going to happen. Or hallucinations, light, everything happen. Then if you have any confusion, whether it's a concept or reality, you can either refer back to your body, or you can just open eyes and see. And then you become directly becoming stark open to the present here and now. So under such circumstances that you can use it as, if there is any doubt or kind of thing, just open eyes and see. And then you are back at home again.
Dear Venerable, during my meditation, remorse and guilt keeps popping up. What can I do? Thank you for your advice.
So it says that remorse and the regret is basically whenever the mind is whenever the mind is drifting off to the past. It says, Anagat Atitanu Chittam Vikopānupatidam Samadhisa Paripantho. There are three things they are to verify. Your mind is not in the present moment. It is associating the past, and the mental coloration is the regret. And whenever it is future projections, excitements. And this is talking about that regret, not the word used, not that regret. Yeah. Yeah. And then the guilt. So, therefore you have to understand only the 6 pitfalls available. Whenever you try to keep the mind present in the primary object, so to say mindfulness, either it can go past and future. That means the time's dimension. Whenever the past, regret, future, excitement. And then likings and disliking. Your primary object become boring, and other side objects, other objects may appear like attractive. Then liking and disliking can happen. The other one is the slimy mind and the over-agitated mind. So whenever you know that your mind is overflowing with the regret and the guilt, you can be happy. Your mind is not to the past and the future. Sorry, not a mind with the liking and disliking, and not with the slimy mind or not with the over-agitated mind. Imagine whenever the guilt happen, whenever the regret happen, if you are regretting, regret means the hating it, then another disease going to come into being. You have the regret, and if you can look at it with the choiceless awareness, that means you try to remove the element of hatred and see this is something happening not with my will, but if I am going to look at it with the hatred, you are the sufferer. If you can look at it with the wisdom, without the hatred, then you can see it's a very clear indication. Situation is not under my control, not governable. That is what the Buddha says, this is anatta. I have no control. So you are not ready to accept that and make the situation more complicated by looking at the situation through the hatred that was your habituation, your habit formation. So look at it when and where it is possible and make use the primary object as the pivot and try to make sure the regret and the guilt is your personality trait. Your mind is, whenever it has become free, is often associate the regret and the guilt. That's your personality trait. That is because you try to keep the mind with the neutral, verifiable object. Then on the regret and other thing happen. So therefore, Godwin used to say, when we were in Nilambe, this is your first and foremost result in your meditation. You learn who you are. I am often with the regret. I am often with the guilt. And next time when it is happening, if you go prepared to reconfirm it, that is it true that I am always with the regret and the guilt, you can look at it with less amount of hatred because you go prepared. So you have to apply again and again, or let them happen again and again, if at all possible, not to look at it through the tinted glass of hatred. Then this will be kind of a knowledge. You can understand whatever the property you have, whatever the education you have, whatever the background you have, this very regret and the guilt is completely destroying it, and you fertilize it by adding little bit of hatred. If it is your responsibility is not to expect to do away with the guilt and the hatred, guilt and the regret, but without contributing hatred, the underlying tendency of the hatred, then you are really looking at it in the scientific way. Otherwise you are habitually adding hatred. So therefore, whenever it is possible, let it happen. More and more it happens. The regret and the guilt means it's a kind of a catharsis. It's a healing process, but it won't be like that if you are adding hatred. So therefore, theoretically be aware that your contribution at all is to let it happen, but if possible, not to add hatred. That means not the direct hatred, but the underlying tendency of the hatred. And if the day you understand it, you get a little distance from the regret, little distance from the guilt, and so it is painfully slow, but there is no other way. Any other way you are going to do, it will be escapism and suppression. But this way is painfully, but you have to apply it. But another common sense is, whenever you are trying to meditate, do it in your best time of the day. Then there are more chances for you to associate little bit of the primary object rather than this. So therefore, if you note it as the hatred, as the underlying tendency and the regret and this thing happen, don't do it in a very awkward time and awkward posture. Give the best, that in a sense loving kindness, sit in a very comfortable way, the best time of the day, and try to be aware, I am sitting symmetrically, I am sitting in a relaxed way, and I just entertain this relaxed nature. Don't force in-breath and out-breath or something like that, and give a very light object. And when more and more you appreciate the present moment and the relaxed mood, relaxed posture, less and less regret can happen. Even if it is happening, if possible, go prepared and observe it or be with it without this underlying tendency or disposition, directed disposition of the hatred, then you are really making use of the opportunity, making use of the present time.
Venerable Bhante, after listening to your talk yesterday, it struck me, do we talk to keep re-establishing a sense of self? Do we need to reassure ourselves, I am someone with opinions that need to be dispensed? A Dhamma teacher asked us some time ago to observe how most of our sentences start with no, no, or but, negating what the other person said, as if to show that my idea or opinion is better than yours. Do we break noble silence to assure ourselves of a sense of self? Why is it so hard not to talk? What urges us to talk when there is no need to? Would appreciate your views on this, Bhante, with metta.
According to the scripture, not to the egocentric idea, the conceit and the desire. These are the three things. Make yourself talkative and proliferation of your thoughts, papancha, tanha, mana, ditti. And this essay is centered around the egocentric idea, but the analysis of words, it says one-upmanship. My idea is better than you. That is a conceit. That is another shadow. And the third one is to gain the maximum benefit out of this discussion and whatever the situation that is out of desire. So all the time, the conceit, self-centered idea or the egotistic idea or desire. So whenever you are doing something, whenever you are thinking, whenever you are talking, if you can be aware of it, then it is the main thing. You can stop the momentum and still you are doing it. And you have to understand this is happening with a kind of a propellants. It is happening with a kind of a habituation. And by observing, the Buddha says, Janato bhikkhave passato asavanam khayam vadami. If you can see each and every action you do, each and every word you utter, each and every thought, if there is a hidden agenda, you may not be aware, you may not be appreciated. But if you can look at from that kind of a approach with the preparedness for that, then you can understand up to the age 6, you are not. Even if you are talking, it is not smeared with egotistic idea or conceit or desire. And your activities, it is universal, not much of agenda behind that. And maybe the same with your thoughts also. But the Buddha says, that is not appreciable situation, because that particular the baby do not know that I have no prapancha. But now we are completely infested with prapancha, and once we surpass it and know it, there we get the thrills and frills. Otherwise, baby having no the prapancha won't give any benefit. So therefore the Buddha says, the prapancha or this mental proliferation itself is a torturing, but overcoming that is the biggest happiness in the human life. So therefore, not to have prapancha, that is by wish it that can happen, that never happen. Let them happen and use the tool. Whenever you are doing something, whenever you are talking, whenever you are thinking, what is the propellants? What is that is called motivation theory. When and where you become advanced in meditation, your motivation become nullified. So you feel sleepy. And imagine no motivation and no prapancha or mental proliferation. Still if you are awake, that is called Buddha. That awakening is what you call the Buddha. So therefore, in a meditation, whenever the meditation becomes successful, the tastelessness or boredom or monotony and feel like sleepy, not associating people can happen. So that is not a mistake, but it is the lack of desire and lack of conceit and lack of egotistic idea that can happen. And when it becomes sleepy, that your whole strategy, ways and means must be, this sleepiness is a result of meditation. Can I be awakened into the sleep? Or it is easily it says, awakening into your dreams. It is irrational, but possible. You know we are very lethargic. You know we are very bored. But still try to keep open. And that openness is not in the common sense. It is not in our rational mind. But that is the example of Buddha. The term Buddha is coming from Prabuddha. Prabuddha means awaken. Awaken into not the sex and senses, sensual gratification. But you, by your discipline, you calm them down and come to the middle path on the moderate level. And then you know the mind become very withdrawn, slimy, and hiding like. And knowing these as good signs of your practice. And what about becoming aware, be vigilant, be diligent, and be awakened, then you are not in this perpetuation and the vicious cycle. That is the way you can cut off. So therefore, the sleepiness or slimy nature can happen. One must not look down it. One has to understand whenever the raga dvesha or the desire and the hatred reduces, the moha is coming or the sleepiness coming. Sometimes even in the walking meditation, you feel like it is wavering and you can't maintain this posture and feel slow sleepy. But not necessarily due to the break rest of the yesterday. Because of the extreme desire and the hatred is reducing, so this happen. And if you can make it a point to be mindful and point to be aware, that is something, as a kind of a neurobics, you have never used your brain so far. So first you have to put that into situation and then start the new circuits, new neurobics, to how much I can be aware of that. Only way is to go prepared. Go prepared for this slimy nature, and as it's a result of meditation, then that some Westerners, they say, if you have the correct attitude, 1001 ways and means are available. In that sense, two individuals are not different. If you know what to do, you have ways. But if you do not know what to do, then you succumb to the sleepiness and you misinterpret it as sleepy. So therefore, that your approach to this completely different subject from meditation. So you must have this attitude. Whenever the sleepiness happens, can we make it a point to be mindful or object of mindfulness and see ways and means to be aware. So Venerable Sariputta says, for such a person, night appear like a day and the day appear like a night. But during the daytime, a lot of sensuous and sexual objects are there. He hibernate like a owl. What's a bird called owl? Owl. You go hiding and wait. But when the night people are all asleep and the situation is very clear, he behave like a day and try to keep awake because the circumstances and the conducive conditions are available. So you make shift, day shift put into the night shift and night shift into the day shift and make it conducive for the spiritual way.
This also asks Bhante about the why is it so hard not to talk? Shall I repeat?
Yes.
Do we break noble silence to assure ourselves of a sense of self? Why is it so hard not to talk? What urges us to talk when there is no need to talk?
It's a kind of a new question. It's a kind of a new challenge for us. And imagine why people are not hesitant to go into the forest. Why people are so hesitant to go and sit under a tree. Why people are so hesitant to go to a solitude place? Because they lost the boundary. They lost the egotistic orientation. So therefore, when you are living with the people with a lot of meditation, and they are not much talking, the newcomer comes and says, they are fighting maybe each other, not looking each other, not saying good morning, good new year and kind of thing. And this is not social enough, not forward enough. So they feel like this is something sick. So the story, it says, there were some 30 monks went in search of a place, dwelling place, or 3 months meditation retreat. While going there, one of the village headmen asked new kind of wayfarers and asked, where are you, Bhante, going? He says, we are searching a place whereby water is available and a place for doing arms rounds is possible, and we need kind of 3 walls to live. Then he told, I am the headman, village headman, and my mother is also a very devoted person. I can put up 30 places and you can live in the forest nearby the village. So then the mother took the opportunity and she used to supply as much as possible food. But she was very busy. And one day he asked the servant boy, now you are taking to them and bring, what do they do? He came and told, they come at a time, and other time what they do, what they are, I don't know what they are doing. Why don't you go? And you also can go there. So she made a time and went there, and no one is there. And then the boy told, the servant boy, there's a gong. If you hit it, they will come thinking that maybe the time for the tea or the meal. And she prepared, of course, go with some refreshment. I hit this thing, and 30 people came from 30 roads and sit and wait, not talking. And she asked the chief monk, was there something in it wrong with you? You will have any misunderstanding? What is this? And the monks have told that we are in a war. We are not talking each other. And there is no misunderstanding. You can see, place is very clean, very tidy, working to the timetable. Then she asked, after taking this vow, the noble silence, what do you do? Then they say, we are contemplating one of the objectives and try to keep the mind as much as possible in one unified idea. Then that lady asked, as a householder or the housewife, can I also practice? He told, yes, this is the way you have to do, either repulsivity of the body or metta bhavana or anapana. He gave a object of meditation, and then she went there, and it was so successful. And she became the anagami, and she developed the clairvoyance and to see, and she observed whether these monks practicing very noble silence and how much they have achieved. No one. They are just putujanas. And then she further inquired into, and she found they are not getting enough tasty foods, because they are used to different tastes. So ultimately she prepared, and ultimately they all also achieved. So then onward, the story is not making my point. My point is, whenever they are practicing, they are maintaining noble silence. That is to maintain the object, how do you say it, in the uniform object. But that noble silence itself will not serve the purpose. In this case, it is disproving the point. And but that lady, her first impression was that noble silence indicates some antagonism. I'm not social enough to greeting each other and kind of thing. So therefore, there can be some kind of misunderstanding with the external people. Not only that, within yourself also, you feel cornered. You feel like isolated. So therefore, it is a kind of a punishment. So by putting into practice only, you can understand how much we are depending on the orientation with the signal from the others. That is the way of talking. And otherwise some people can go mad. So therefore understand, don't go for the extreme noble science which are complete silence. Don't go for day-to-day unwanted chatter. Upandita Sayadaw in his retreat center he says, too pure. Too pure means reduce your speech. He never say completely abstaining from sounds. And you can talk to the point and that's it. To the utility value. So that is the way it has to do. And you can, whenever you try to restrain yourself, only you can understand your addiction to talk.
Most Venerable Bhante, can someone who is inclined to do Vipassana meditation become later inclined to do Samatha Bhavana and get jhanas? Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Yeah, in the Buddha mentioned 4 kinds of meditation, starting from insight and later go into the Samatha, or starting with Samatha and go into the insight, or you can do both in a mixed way, Yuganadha Bhavana. And in addition to that, there's a kind of a Dhammuddacca Pahana Chetana. While you are in a meditation, some hallucination, some kind of a mystic things and some kind of a defilement can arise due to the meditation, and then you have to go through it. For that, you should have noble friends, you should have true people and the guidance. So that is also recognized as a 4th aspect. So therefore, theoretically it is yes. You can start with Vipassana and later you can go. But the presentation is wrong. Inclined to Samatha and Vipassana is not under your, it is not your choice. You don't know your inclination. Only by practice you can understand. You can't decide. If you are going to decide, or your teacher going to decide, that is putting petrol into the diesel engine. Then you have to decarbonize. So therefore, just give a neutral object, something like Anapana, and see how is your observation. Then very carefully you have to understand, only by trial and error, which inclination is for Samatha or Vipassana. So therefore, simple answer for this question is, you have no choice. This is predetermined. Only by practicing you can understand what are the traits, what are the inclinations. So therefore, at the beginning, don't be very decisive.
Dear Bhante, I started to listen to one of your talks a few weeks ago. However, I had time only to go through the first 2 talks. The title is Vitakka Santana Sutta. I realized the importance of this sutta now more than ever, because for the last 2 days I am getting distracting and obsessive thoughts. Bhante, can you please explain all the important points of this sutta? Thank you, with metta.
Yes. I have to tune my machine into that Vitakka Santana Sutta. It will take time, because now it is tuned to the Thanhasankaya Sutta. Whatever it may be, when the distractions happen, maybe due to the thinking, or any pain or sound or any emotions, you have to understand the art of disclaimer, art of disavow. Whenever you consider this as me, then this is inflicting. You have to understand, I am just a stage, and in this stage different drama happens. But I have nothing to claim them as myself. So maybe thoughts, maybe emotions, maybe sounds, maybe anything. Whenever that becomes inflictive or it is suffering, never other than you are assuming they as me and mine. So therefore, whenever it is happening, one good example is when you are looking at the sky, there are a lot of clouds are moving, and don't try to recognize the cloud as the sky. Clouds and the sky are two different things. Whatever the sky, whatever the clouds, whether it's rainy clouds or bright clouds or thick one, it never smear the sky. They are just passing show. So whenever you are trying to recognize with these transitional clouds, then you become moody. So main thing is, let that pass. They are rising to pass away. Look at it without use a disclaimer and disavow it, and then you can understand you are the sky but not the clouds. And Venerable Buddha Datta maybe in Thailand, he mentioned when you go to film hall and look at the screen, and there may be a very nice, very live picture of a waterfall, and it appears it's very lively, but how much the waterfall is lively, the screen never get wet. Screen is a screen. And it may be showing a volcanic eruption, heat and everything. It's so lively. But the screen is the screen. So likewise, your passing show is one thing, and the screen is different. So whenever you are going to recognize this is passing show, you are to suffer. But they have no any anchorage, they are just passing. So try to understand how much you recognize with them, how much you assume with them, how much you react with them. So much so the friction arises, the defilement arises, and habitually it is happening, but it is not necessarily so. So you must have a benchmark, you must have a reference point, you must have a pivotal point. They are happening. Meanwhile, try to keep the mind as much as possible with your primary object as a pivotal point, or disavow, disclaim it. So ultimately it will happen just like a water bubble on the petal of a lotus. They may be there but without smearing you. I know it is very difficult thing, but this is the theoretical explanation. So therefore the Buddha in the Vitakkasanthana Sutta, he has mentioned number of ways when it is happening, how to divert your mind to something else, or how to not to pay attention to that, and all the kind of simple tactics to not to assume it. So therefore the Vitakkasanthana is a very, very famous Vitakkasanthana and Dvida Vitakka Sutta. Both of them are in a very adjoining place in the Majjhima Nikaya. Only it is valuable, only it is very vividly explaining the theory when you are meditating. Otherwise these suttas have no practical value. They won't give any other thing, but when you are meditating, they become very, very vivid, very lively, and keep on practice. Listen to that also, and keep the pivotal point, your primary object. I would rather introduce your body as the pivotal point rather than the in-breath and out-breath. In-breath and out-breath, no harm, it can be. But take this body and let the passing show to go without assuming it. That is the best way.
Dear Bhante, I loved the simile you used about the needle and the bobbin. I thought, isn't this what I am doing when I am meditating too? When the mind is silent, I am putting the needle into the bobbin and weaving and knotting and constructing, making sankhara. When doing too good, sankhara, when doing too, go and just being in silence. just being in silence. Thank you, Bhante. I think I learned a huge lesson here for my meditation practice and my everyday life.
So therefore the Tanha, the desire is not as a weaver or seamstress. Mahanya, seamstress, there's one word called, I don't know, seamster.
Sorry, seamster.
Seamster.
The person who is doing
yes, seamstress is the term Buddha is using. Two things you put together, and in the normal stitching also you do, but when Nyananda's example of that sewing machine is very dramatic. In the Western, Mahayana Buddhism, it says the sound of the one hand clap. If it is not hitting, no clap. What about the sound of the one hand clap? The needle is working, bobbin is free, and it appears like stitching, but no gluing, not stitching together. So when you look, even though you are an eyed person, if you look at the scene as a blind person, this is what it happens. You listen, you have a very good capacity, but have a deaf, just like a listen, given a deaf ear. You never fabricate anything, you stop at that level. Even if something come and contact, you know storytelling, no fabrication, contact is contact. So if you can stop at that level, the needle is working, the bobbin is free, so there won't be any kind of a stitch. But outsiders appear like a stitching or sewing machine is working. But of course it is not happening. So this is the maximum of the Vipassana meditation. Not that you are inflicted with the unwanted thing and suffering kind of thing, but you don't care. You are not justifying them. You are disavowing them, disclaim them, and try to see things but still behave like a blind person. You listen, unjustifiable thing and everything, but behave like a deaf. So society can complain, you have no feeling, you have no value judgment and kind of thing. So whatever the feeling and value judgment, if it is going to lead to the frustration and tension, so try this and see how much you can be like that. And it is a capacity only for the human beings. The cat cannot meditate in front of a rat. No. Because that's their instinct. So they jump and do. But the human, it's the biggest or the finest form of the restrainment. You can behave in such a way, ultimately you are just like in a bulletproof cabin. War is going on, but you know they can't penetrate because you, even though you are an eyed person, behave like a blind. It is like the needle is working, but the bobbin is free.
It's just that two monks at different times told me that I shouldn't let the mind remain in silence, that I should somehow, get hold of something to the meditation subject to contemplate on. Otherwise, I'm not really meditating correctly. Because how will I find the truth if I just let the mind be silent? So that's why I wrote that, because when you spoke about that simile, I just thought maybe I have been doing things wrong by, vitakka vichara all the time without going into silence, because if one wants to really fade away, it has to be in silence, I thought, when I heard you speak this morning. So please correct me if, whether I should menihify or not.
Do both for you experimenting. At a given time, according to my model, the silence management is there, or calm, spacious part is there, defilements are there. So if you are to be with the defilement, you have to note it, that you have to see the beginning, the middle and the end of the defilements. So much so, your mind get agitated. And as an alternative, you can forget about and forgive and forget and be with the space. I mean, everyone can't do it, only the meditators can do it. So whenever you are applying both as a noble quest, you have to understand which one is leading to less and less frustration, which one is leading to less and less tension. And you have to do and understand. Otherwise, some people say, while defilements are there, while distractions are there, if you are not contemplating, it is like escapism. You go into the silence and just hibernating. The Buddha says it is a good way to see, because that is your camp, it is your oasis. Why not to go there and have little time? Whenever the mind is full, with the full vigor, if it is ready, you can come and again practice it or deal with the defilements or distractions also, but you do it as a hobby, not like a regimentation, not like a duty. Do it, and when you are possible, you come and hear, because you have two alternatives. So therefore, don't think being with only the silence is the only way, or dealing with the defilement is the only way. You have alternative, that is your endowment of your practice. Do it accordingly, so that both the things you will be mastering daily, slowly. And when you are telling someone also, don't try to be pious, only to go there and be with the silence, or always trying to be with the defilements. Let that particular person to diversify along his or her noble quest. And that part you can't do. You can only lead up to that and say, do trial and error and see which one is leading to less and less frustration, less tension. And that's very verifiable. It's a very worthwhile criterion to verify.
Dear sir, in today's talk, you described a state that happens spontaneously, where the mindfulness is disengaged from objects for shorter periods of time. Is this sati sampajanna or an experience of nibbana? That is number one. Number two, can this state be cultivated to last an extended period of time? Thank you.
So for the both, you have to do is, towards the latter part of the talk, what I try to mention is, when such a thing happens, don't rush to decision. Let it happen again and again. When it is happening again and again, you can understand, is it a mishap or it's a result of your patipada or systematic approach, and then you will understand the early signs of it, how it happens. And more you practice, you gain the confidence, and soon you label, you get committed. Don't put a label. Labeling is the point where then onward you are answerable. So keep it unlabeled, keep it unassumed, and more practicing or more and more rehearsing it is what you call the anupassana, because you are endowed with, now you know the potential is there. So therefore do both. Sometimes you can't account for whether you are mindful or not. That means your perception is not working. And then the Anija-sappaya Sutta, very clearly Buddha is explaining it. Whenever there is no perception, there is no way to verify, there is no perception. Only you can verify once there is a perception happen. That means a shock, that kind of disturbance. Then with respect to that disturbance, you can say, just before that, I was not there. The perception was not there. Mindfulness was not there. But with respect to the distraction, you can say it was a gap. So, invariably Buddha says, gap cannot be understood unless there is a distraction. Distraction cannot be understood unless there is a gap. So you can see they are reciprocal each other. They are interdependent each other. So only the problem is you go to a place, so to say, no mindfulness or no perception, no feeling, gap. And then all of a sudden you get a shock and you get awakened into, and instead of worrying, just see, now I got shock, I got a perception, I know mindful or not, but just before that it was not there. When it is happening again and again, you can see out of these two contexts, which one is more preferable than the other. Is there any likings and disliking for both? To the shock or to the silence? If there is a difference, it leads to suffering. It leads to frustration. You have to meditate in such a way, your mind is indifferent or unwavy or such. Both of them are just cause and effect relationship, nothing to worry. Main thing is not to worry, they are reciprocal each other. But the person who new to the lack of anything or space, they will say it's very spiritual, this is Nibbana, this is the Sanya Veda, Nirodha, and then they will hate the distraction. And next time when they go and practice, if it is not there, then it's a cause of suffering. And some other can say the object and the distraction is the only indicator of the lack of distraction, so it has also meaning, and you have the ego, you have the footing for the ego, conceit and the desire. So some people like it, like this distraction. So you don't know up till you practice up to the mastering up to that point, which one is more preferable. Best thing is to let it happen till up to the point your mind consider both of them as equal. They are reciprocal each other, but don't have a bias idea, silence is better or distraction is better. I may be using the wrong terms, but I hope you can understand. So that kind of a rehearsing is not, it is called bahuli kata. That means 1001 time you have to do till there's no discrimination between that gap as well as the distraction. So you get the distance from both.
Yeah. That situation you've just described there, if you start to, as you say, go over it and re-experience it again many times, this starts to happen, you start to see patterns.
Yeah. So I mean that...
Is this a time when you can start to use, you know that, okay, I really get off on the bliss and I get very distressed when the distraction shows up. Can you use, you know how the Buddha talked in the Upakalesa Sutta? He gave 8 suggestions and he used aditana, and he said don't start talking to yourself in the middle of this stuff because it just blows it, it just kills it. But use the aditana at the beginning of the sitting, saying I know this is probably going to happen later on down the track. If it happens, I intend my mind, I seek my mind to go this way or that way. Can you use skillful use or decision making to aditana ahead of time to deal with this thing which you're talking about?
Same thing mentioned in the particular sutta known as Anija Sappaya. You go to a silence, end of the silence is a shock. When you come out, and if you have the healthy mind, you are not hate and you are not distracted, you see, now I disturb because earlier I was in a bliss. So with respect to the hate, the bliss was there. So then the Buddha says, recite it, etan santang etam panitang yadidang upekha. So it is nice, it is very calm and quiet when there is no object. That means in a bliss. Now you do it after you come up to the excited situation, you say, so that without much hate to the excited situation, you use that excited object itself as an object of meditation, and when that ceases, again you go to the bliss. So bliss and this happening, now you are going to highlight whenever the excited situation happen, by a determination or by reciting etan santang etam panita, you can go to the bliss, because in our day-to-day life, the bliss is the lacking mode. This is the lacking alternative. So you have to develop in such a way, the bliss must be your second nature. It must be your at-home situation. Till that you have to use the determination, make it balance. And then the Buddha says, alattan yadidan sadhu nalattan sundaramiti ubayeneva sotadi rukkanga pativattadi. So you go to the meditation and you expect bliss. Not happening. Then you are using, if I can get the bliss, well and good. If it is not there, still good. Then you are not carried away, you are not worrying due to the disappointment, just like, and thadi is the term Buddha is using, you are developing a mind of suchness. Whenever you go to a tree expecting a fruit, and if it is no fruit, what to do with the tree? If the fruits are available, well and good. Otherwise you have to just be rukkanga pativattadi. You go to with the expectation, if it is not there, if it's your mother and father, you can claim and you can fight and kind of thing. But you go to a tree. So there you have to understand, till your maturity happen, you maximize or you grow or cultivate that bliss. Maybe with the determination, or whenever the excitement happens, you take this excitement itself as an object of meditation and calm down and go to the bliss. Make it in such a way, the bliss become your second nature. Bliss become you at home. So that means you know even the excitements are there, the bliss is always there. You know how to go into that. That means disavow, disclaim the excitements, and then you understand it. It is not in side by side. So 2 layers, more deep in your consciousness, bliss. More in the superficial layer, it is distraction. Agantukehu pakkilitehu pakkilita. So you know, you are not go to the bliss not by getting rid of distraction. It is by not giving attention to it. You pay into attention more and more to the bliss. So ultimately you find you are born enlightened. You don't know. By meditation you separate them. And don't go and appreciate defilements, then you are definitely in the defilement side. When both of them are there, you know how to discriminate and you know where to appreciate. So that is to say, you are born to be free. But our society teaching us only to find faults. We are always finding fault with others, finding fault with ourselves, and ultimately making stories, fabricating on the faults. Whenever you go to the bliss, no fabrication. Then you feel bored. You feel sleepy. You have nothing to talk. And then ask, how difficult for you to not to talk? So therefore you can't find fault with others. You have to have the correct perspective, not only with the meditation. Once the correct perspectives happen, just becoming a human being itself is an enlightenment. Then you will, maybe the other person not meditating, he is not a moral person, but you can't undermine him. So at any moment he also can be. So therefore you have to give the value, because till you come up to that understanding, you have never appreciated yourself. You only see outer crust. You see outer rust, outer grease. So much so you are making fuss. So it is a matter of perspective. Or yonisomanikara or ayonisomanikara. Yonisomanikara means you only see the love spots. Or try to find a reason to be glad under any circumstances. Don't talk about mishap or distraction. And if your friend is a person always talking and find a distraction, cut off him. No harm. Otherwise, this is the association. Through association, you are get infiltrated of this criticism, storytelling, fabrication, but still used in a core, you have the enlightenment. So you have to understand how to appreciate that, how to make it as your second nature. Then the Buddha says, Olarikattapatilabha, that means your human body or humanness itself is endowment. It is not a mishap. It is not a coincidence. But if you only see the mishaps, if you see the defilements or the outer crux, 1,001 reason for you to talk from morning to evening. But it not contribute you towards any peace. So therefore very difficult to explain that in the plural sense. As an individual or singular sense, it appears like selfish. That is possible. So even we are talking as a group, you have to put that model into individual and see, even your family friends and the others are not in that mood, never mind, as far as you know the art, you are in a bulletproof cabin.
Venerable Sir, is it having no views also a view, an idea? Thank you.
Yeah, that is the noble quest. You have to say that dark matter and dark energy, is it a negative matter or is something different, independent? So these are kind of in a relative world, you can't find absolute truths. Each and every truth is relative. So therefore you have to say no views means least amount of views. So when I was in grade 8 or something like that, when while talking, one person asked, what is the most diluted form of acidity? Then I told pH 7. pH 7 is known as neutral, but it's the most diluted form of acid. So likewise, it's everything. We are always grasping thing as absolute and intrinsic, but nothing in this world, everything is relative. So you have to understand in this, within the comma, the no views means least amount of views. Don't expect 100% purity in this bloody earth, on this bloody earth, unless you die. That is called Maha Parinibbana. Till that you have to have Anupadisesa Nibbana. You know you are destined to do it, but as far as these 6 senses are working, Pancha Salayatana, repercussion is there. For example, whatever the machine you are using, whatever the machine you are creating, you can't go to 100% efficiency. The friction is there. Machine means friction. Only you can do is efficiency means least amount of friction, but don't talk zero level of friction. It is not possible on this earth.
How do you deal with boredom during retreats?
During?
Retreats.
So I consider boredom as green tea. So whenever happen, I very calm and quiet start to sip. So that is why I am not thinking about the marriage. Because boredom is much, much better than a wife. So always expecting her to come and try to be. And therefore many people consider this as unauspicious and cornered. And ultimately in order to get rid of this boredom, what you hug is, I don't use terms, anything what you are hugged is filthy. It is defilement. So therefore boredom is, and very nicely the Buddha mentioned in the Pottapada Sutta, I think Pottapada together with the Chula Sunyata Sutta, whenever you renunciate the life or the sensuous pleasure, and when you come to the forest, and when you are living in the forest telling that I am no more with the village, no more with the congregations and all the kind of thing, and be in the forest, the Buddha says, forest itself by intrinsically forest is not a happy place or comfortable place. Even though you renounce the household, but you come here and living in the forest, it's uncomfortable, true. But it is only good, because as far as you are delighted in the forest, you are free from the worries related to the village life. That's it. And when you are in the forest, imagine that you are confining your attention to the body. It's a hell of agony when the body is coming to face with. It is not a bliss. It is not the red rosy thing. But as far as you are in the body, even though it is boring, even though it is distracting, you are free from the worries related to the village as well as the forest. Now imagine your body means the 4 elements. If you pointed only one element, air element, and then air element is not a peaceful thing. It is not a blissful thing. But as far as you are with the air element, you are not worried about the other 3 elements. The village, worries regarding the village, worries regarding the forest. So likewise he removes slowly and says, whatever you are depending itself is a worry, darling. Don't tell it a worry, tell it as a gladness. Tell it as a happiness. Tell it as the mindfulness and the clear comprehension. Tell it as a settlement. Not that it is by itself is a gladness, but it is helping you to do away with so much of worries. Therefore, you have to change the terminology. Consider this boredom as a precursor for the Nibbana. Whenever the boredom happens, you know, and the Buddha suggests, consider this as solitude. Consider this as a contentment. Consider this as a peace of mind. And no, it is inalienable, unalloyed, be with the boredom. And ultimately boredom becomes very sweet. So it takes a long time. Because you know, as far as you are in this boredom, you are not worried about the other worries related to the village or the forest or your body or anything. So this is the way the argumentation is happening. So you have to, only by meditation, this will never happen. So you have to have discussions, you have to have the listening to the talks, and you have to have the radical reflection. Then only you know how to make use the results of meditation in a productive way.
There are some words in this one, difficult to read, but I'll start. Venerable Bhante, I'm practicing meditation for more than 10 years. My primary object is abdomen rising and falling. When I come to second or third jhana, Piti, Sukha, Ekagrata, Ekaggata. This is written as Ekagrata, Ekaggata. Can I turn into Vipassana the way you have mentioned in your Dhammadesana today? That is, 1, at the second jhana, when you are, I think, when you are faced with the primary object, if some thought moment come, longing to that thought moment without hate or desire, and see the basic cause or out of 5 hindrances, raga, anusaya, patigaya, anusaya, etc. Is this called vipassana?
The very first sentence indicates the misunderstanding. Through rising and falling, you can't go to jhana. It is an accepted fact. So therefore, this recognized jhana is questionable. The Mahasi Sayadaw selected this rising and falling. It can never be a samatha object. It's a right from the beginning vipassana object. So therefore, many people may talk about, but you can't compare that, what you call jhana and what you call, he is calling jhana. First jhana, second jhana. So once you assume it, you are entangled with so much of fabrication, so much of complication. So just see as things as they are. If it is right from the beginning, of course, it is called vipassana. But see things as they are without assuming, without putting a label. I don't claim that labels are invalid. The Buddha himself used it. But we, till it come to the point to lack of the frustration, lack of tension, all the labels are the root cause of frustration, root cause of tension. We can do away with Because we have nothing to compare and prove it. Because it is happening here, now I am. In this dimension, not necessary. But our mind is always try to give labels and assuming. Soon you assume conceit or comparison, one-upmanship going to happen. So ultimately this is called iatrogenic effect. The diseases out of medicine. And it is not due to the basic needs. No any other thing. This is what happens. So you have to understand how to use Dhamma in a practical way. How to use Dhamma in a pragmatic way to get rid of suffering. I would say to get rid of frustration and tension. For that you must be very, very vigilant, very, very diligent. Whatever, even if it is today's Dhamma talk, the Buddha mentioned, even if you are in the very clear view, don't adhere to that view. Don't take it as my property. Don't play with it. Just use it for the practical utility value. Utility means leading to less and less tension. Leading to less and less frustration. That will be a very good idea. So I may be a little critical about this Samatha Jhana and all the story. But the very sentences, since I have translated the whole Mahasi books into the Sinhala, he has taken the rising and falling. Upon rising and falling, no jhana kata.
Dear Bhante, I have a question on my meditation practice where I am not sure if I am in the samatha or vipassana practice. There have been occasions where I felt joy, peace and happiness concentrating on the breath. I have experienced sensations at the tip of the nostrils, with the breath getting from warm, heavy to light, subtle. The days I have a good meditation, it takes long hours to fall asleep at night. Can I please find out if I am in the correct path? Also, does vipassana lead to higher states of mind than samatha practice? If so, what is the path to follow? Thank you for your much valued answer.
And a few points may be clarified for the whole discussion. The samatha and vipassana, whenever it is advancing, specifically whenever the nivaranas cut off, the rapture, the gladness can happen. But in vipassana, gladness and the rapture, it is very momentary. This moment it will be gladness, next moment it may not be. But in the samatha, you can monitor it, you can master it, you can keep it for a period of time. That is by mastering. Otherwise, exactly it is happening. So therefore, very difficult without nurturing, without seasoning, without mastering it to say which one is happening. And whenever the gradual development is concerned, sila, samadhi, panya. So therefore, sila is helping and becoming the foundation for the samadhi. And that samadhi is uplifting and helping be the foundation of the vipassana, and then through the vipassana only culmination happen. So therefore, generally it's accepting vipassana is higher than samatha. So this is the last part of the question. Whatever may be, path correct, path is correct. But the label try to given is questionable. So therefore, don't try to assume that label or this label. Try to be mindful as much as possible. And as far as the mindfulness is in the forefront, it never wastes time. Whatever may be the path may be changing, but even then, satikvaham bhikkhave sabbattikang vadami, monks expect the mindfulness under any circumstances. Mindfulness is always guarding yourself.
Dear Bhante, thank you for the precious Dhamma talk. Regarding the example of the sewing machine, was it tanha, within brackets craving, that you compared to the thread in the bobbin? which helps the stitching, i.e. carrying on samsara. Thank you with metta.
That we can say the underlying tendency of tanha, you can't see. But from down there is always happening it. So therefore the bobbin, you can say the directed disposition, whenever it is tanha happening, it do the task but you can't see. It is happening in the submarine, just like not in the tip of the iceberg. So we are talking only our external behavior. But it is less than 10%. But there's a huge amount underneath, unless otherwise you are self-critical, unless otherwise you are ready to see things as they are, you may be just judging people and expressing yourself with this external behavior, but it will be only enough up to the ethical level, that there won't be any change within you. If you wish to be a ethically good person, as well as wish to change yourself or change your personality and least frictional way, then you have to go deep. And there are this underlying tendency of tanha going to happen, you are met up with. And generally, people never deal it with, never exposed to it. They don't see the potential danger of it. But by vipassana only you can see. And when it's happening, the great advantage is you can read anyone's behavior, not only you. Because this is happening in the universal way. So you can understand when the people are dancing, what is the agenda behind. Because they are dancing without paying. So you can understand what motivation this verbal action, physical action and the mental action happen. And still you have to observe a little longer, and then if you have your own original observation exactly applicable for other person, irrespective of all the sectarianism, so that is the advantage you get. But don't misuse it. Don't use it for the judge other people. It is, take it as an external or in vivo, in vitro. This is an in vitro example. Again apply in vivo and yourself, then you can see we are completely the same. Whatever the action, whatever the act, whatever the role model we are going to play. But underneath exactly the same. So try your humanness, take your human mind, and on an experimental basis, don't think it is my mind, it is the human mind.
Dear Bhante, last night, just before sleep in a lying down posture, as usual my attention was on the energy flow in and around the body. With a very clear mindfulness, I witnessed the stillness in the flow on the center of the gap. My body felt like freezing while it lasted for a few moments. Then the sparking feeling at different parts of the body started. Since I have experienced this a few times at home, the preeti, I automatically viewed it as a nuisance and thought upeka is better. Nuisance and thought upeka is better. Suddenly the sparking stopped, and situation was neutral. My question is, am I disturbing the flow of the meditation by this thought? But I don't think I have a choice. Thank you.
So whenever it is happening, if you are not a spiritual person, if you have no faith, no any precepts and no mindfulness, appear like you are cornered and very bored and isolated. This sign is a sign of fear. But if you are a religious person with the faith, with the precepts intact and the mindfulness, you can see it's a kind of a datum line. And when you go there, you have no control, but you can take this situation as a object of mindfulness, and if you can familiarize it, you can't claim this as my body, because boundaries are not there in this experience. No boundaries. So then you can understand you are merging into the cosmic energy, and it is nothing to maintain. And due to your faith and due to your precepts or the morality, you have no fear. And therefore you can see it as something positive, otherwise it appears like a fear. So therefore this is nothing related to meditation. This is a birthright of a human being. But we consider this as loneliness. But when you are a spiritual person, you consider it as aloneness. So it's just mere changing from the loneliness to aloneness. So whenever you become old age, you have so much of fear about loneliness. But if you are a meditator like Barbara and others, it is aloneness. And free of all the kind of things, they are in a bliss. So even confined to the bed, and kind of they know that completely be with the energy, and it is nothing to fight and gain. It's always there. So therefore, whenever someone go there and see, there's no words to explain it, and there's no limits over there, and no need of any maintenance, and take this as your basic nature, or you are at home, you would remember when you are child age, you are more familiar with this. Unless otherwise you have any other mental diseases. And but whenever you grow, whenever you become educated and assume and status and all the kind of thing, slowly you deprive of this one. And when you come back to it, it appears like something strange. That means your home itself appears like a strange, because you have so much of amused in the sensuous pleasure or sensuous gratification. But anyway, when you go to the old age, sickness and the death, you are nearing it. So much so you appreciate the sensuous pleasure, it appears like a bankruptcy. But for the meditator, they are blessings in disguise. So how can we understand the loneliness and the aloneness? It's a matter of Yonisomansikara and Ayonisomansikara. So therefore, if you are a practitioner, each and every mishap happening into your life is a blessing in disguise. Each and every achievement you have, you are losing yourself, you get misunderstood, or desperately you are trying to prove others. But this is nothing to prove. But the only thing is you have to have the correct view and go prepared it. Go with the preparedness, and hardly you can attribute that to the meditation. Oh, this is a birthright. Each and everyone. So when I go to America, and there's a camp, and they gave me a caravan, and the retreatants are in the outside, and that lady told her daughter is not going to schools and teaching at home, and she is a genius. It's a very IQ level, and she one day told mother, I wish to meet Venerable Dhammajiva personally. So I told, no problem, it's 13 years old. And she came and then I asked, do you have any question? No, Bhante. Then is it the first time you have seen a Buddhist? No, I have seen before. Then why did you come? It happened me too. I thought of coming to and talk. Then I said, then talk. No, nothing to talk. So then I asked, can I ask a question? Yes. No problem. Then I asked, do you meditate? Yes. What kind of meditation? I close my eyes and wait. Then I asked, what did you experience? I just merged into the cosmic energy, that's it. Then I asked that, how many minutes you can be there? Any amount of time. I can be there. Then I told that if you are going to teach this meditation into your peer group, maybe a Muslim or Catholic, how you are going to teach this? No, I have no necessity to teach others. Why should I? This is my way, I am just be with peace. This time when I go there, we had a camp for children, and she also was there. I had a ringing bowl. I keep the ringing bell. I told everyone, please sit down comfortably. I will going to ring the bell. Just listen the end of the sound, end of the ringing sound, and write me a essay. And that girl raised the hand. I told, can you listen to the sound? She can say the sound is disappearing. At the end is merging into the cosmic energy. So, she was not born Buddhist. She has never practiced Anapanasati or nothing. But he says, when you are listening to the end of anything, you are merging with the cosmic energy, but your mind is so urged to see the next what is happening, so that you are disturbing it. Otherwise, listen to, all the time sound of silence is there. All the time this the cosmic energy is there. But if you consider this as cornered and outcasted, those loneliness and kind of thing, its simple fact is you hate it. Or otherwise you can say your fear of freedom, or fear of unknown. So you have to have the faith, you have to have the morality just to face it and consider this is not loneliness, this is aloneness, it's a bliss. So that difference is the one I would say it's electric. No one can predict when it is going to happen.
Dear Bhante, what is Vipassana meditation and what is Samatha meditation? Thank you.
So that after the practice, I would like to say, when the person who has written paper, whenever you pay the attention to your primary objective at all you are doing, please let me explain what you experience. Then I, with respect to that experience and with using that vocabulary, I will try. Otherwise, very difficult to give a convincing answer. So you have to put forth your experience. With that respect, I can say, otherwise this will become a Sunday school.